Okay, there's only 3 people here, so I'll do 2 for me and 1 for you. So that's narrator and Jake, which means you're doing Jane. Okay. If you were one of the haters and fools who saw Lord English's masterpiece circulating through the black veins of the dark web and were rendered agog by its majesty, then you would probably have a pretty good sense of what happened next. You probably also wouldn't be rendered that much additionally agog if you were told it didn't happen precisely as conveyed by the young lord's expertly produced claymation theatre. Would it be that surprising if the first 4 heroes weren't immediately captured in the juju as a dark web swan song broadcast through Roker's fine videos originally depicted? Probably not. Would it raise any eyebrows if the action turned out to be a bit sloppier than that? A bloody nose here, a stray wedgie there, someone trips on the cake, loud eruptions of the word ow, petulant insults, smack talk, crude gestures, and stray honks on the sidelines. Would it rock anyone's world to discover the stop-motion feature did not treat this battle royale with the utmost fidelity? Not one who witnessed a spectacle online would regard these discrepancies with much surprise, but you were not such a witness. You were still John Egbert, and you had no idea what sort of raucous teen pandemonium to expect from his absence in the lair of your nemesis to throw down. Which is why you were completely blindsided when, upon being overwhelmed by the melee, Caliborn sprung his gambit on you and your 3 best friends to even the odds. He opened his little red chest and outgained the white house-shaped juju levitating there, threatening to behave as a weapon many treasure hunters throughout history had described it to be. Upon a second look, though, it's not quite right. It's colourless, null, a house-shaped hole in your confining reality, a hole that insists on being filled. You try to resist its overwhelming pull, but to no avail. The force is too strong. Not like the sucking from the vacuum of space or the tug from a gravitational singularity. It was more overpowering than any force of nature, almost metatextual, not negating your powers, your strength to resist, so much as it seems to overwrite them. Juju sucks you, throws Dave and Jade into its void at the speed of eternity squashed down to a half-second. He landed in the abstract prison that contains Fate's verse, alone, and with a pause speed you flip over a few times and skid along by the flaps of your chin. You groped your glasses instinctively, finding them in 2 cracked halves. You cradled their remains as you looked up. The blurry, distorted face of your laughing nemesis was the last thing you saw before the chest door slammed shut and plunged you into textual obsolescence. And here you were now stuck. You were not emerging.
Homestuck.
Yeah, stuck in a home, yeah. You will not emerge from this holding itself from the outside perspective there for quadrillions of years. It is not long at all until you begin to wish you had brought something to read. Jane Crocker sweeps into her office with grace befitting her station and slams the door shut behind her. The sun cuts through her Venetian blinds, painting bloody yellow strips of light all the way from one end of her impeccably tailored office to the other. It's a lovely day, like most days, not terribly remarkable except the horrid news that she has just received at her customary morning press conference. Jane comes to a brisk stop alongside one of her floor-to-ceiling windows, which span the full 2/3 of her office, and brushes her hands over her hip to smooth the wrinkles out of the powder blue pencil shirt. Then she hems, haws, puffs out her cheeks, and takes a very deep breath before snatching a pillow off the nearest couch so that she can scream into it. There are, surely, a multitude of ways for a person to find out that an acquaintance is running against you in a presidential election. From a clarification reporter in front of 26 other members of the interspecies press was not the method Jane would have personally chosen. She is certain that she retained her poise and managed to not look too shocked at the news. She did not explain what, but instead managed to eke out through gritted teeth and pursed lips a reasonably thoughtful sounding She cannot believe that Carcat would do this to her. This is no longer a political fiat, which election would surely have been had she run uncontested by any other civilization-founding celebrities, but rather a battle between friends. What did Vantas think he was doing? No, it's not Vantas, Jane realizes. This could not possibly have been Carcat's idea. Jane knows Carcat, not intimately or even casually, but well enough to have made a generalized assessment of his basic character over the years. He is not cut out for politics, neither intellectually nor in the very important matter of social constitution. Certainly not when it becomes an economic policy. In fact, Jane is pretty sure that Carcat Mantis would probably literally burst into flame if too many people happened to look at him at the same time, like a vampire walking out into the sun. Wait. Jane lowers a pillow from her face and stares at her brass and glass Art Deco ceiling. Was that vampire thing xenophobic against Kanaya, or whatever it was that Kanaya was supposed to be? No, of course not, she assures herself. We're told it was the other way around. Vampires were the only members of their species who didn't walk at the sunlight. Another reason Karkat would make a poor president. Unless he ran a night president? No, the idea is foolish. Best not to give him any ideas. There can only be one president. No, surely this must be Dave's idea. This kind of plot hatched from their little nest of mutually supportive, codependent interspecies, whatever it was they had going on over there. Dave was certainly no Dirk Strider, no Rosa Dawn, no Roxy, but he had that same scheming gene buried down beneath his transparent onion layers of posturing and frankly rather outdated humour, an instinct to plan, and despite being inarguably the dimmest of his family's impressive exobiological stock, oh dear, the stock, that's likely a problematic word, isn't it, Jane thinks. She crosses it off her mental list of appropriate words to say during a press conference. She returns to her train of thought. Despite being the least mentally gifted member of his family, Dave has always had an awful lot of opinions on the economy. In fact, Jane cannot remember a single conversation she's ever had with him that wasn't about the economy. She thinks back to one time at John's 18th birthday when Dave engaged her in a rigorous and rather one-sided debate about deregulation and the failure of neoliberal austerity measures until Karkak had to come over and put his mouse over his roommate's mouth to make him stop talking. Come to think of it, the few direct interactions with Karkat she'd ever had, this struck her as a truly great act of benevolence towards the common good. Maybe he would make a good president? No, she cannot succumb to such force of weakness. She will not.
Wait, can we pause?
Huh?
Quick pause. I
Oh.
need to say something,
Yeah?
which is I'm gonna slap her. I'm gonna slap her so hard. She insulted my boyfriend, and I am going to slap her really hard across the
Yeah,
face.
and she definitely deserves it. Anyway, Jane tosses the pillow back onto the couch and begins pacing the length of her office. This really was a disaster. She knew she was solid on several demographic metrics, the human one most certainly, and the well-to-do Carapatian districts, but Karkat was incredibly popular in the Troll Kingdom, obviously, and Carapatians are widely known to be swayed by underdog populism. And the consorts? Who had even given them the right to vote in the first place? In any other year, Jane hops up to sit on the desk and kicks off both her shoes. She picks up a pen and begins to chew the end to bits to stop herself from doing the same to her lower lip. In any other year, this wouldn't be a problem. She'd be happy to accept a graceful temporary defeat and let Karkat play president for a couple of years. After all, unlike her, he was not immortal. But Earthsea's pay-within idyllic history was very close to a boiling point. Its very first boiling point, in fact, which will have everything to do with the problematic nature of troll reproduction. The first generation of natural-born trolls obviously cannot be entrusted to a troll, which was absolutely not a xenophobic thing to think. It was just realistic. The citizens of Earthsea were able to rest easy knowing that the government held careful reign over matters of equity. No one could possibly trust something so important to a troll, knowing what everyone knew about their violent history. Losing this election can mean social unrest, protests, even war. Jane presses her eyes shut and runs her fingers along the fine-grained patterns in a mahogany-panelled desk. She is about to say something that she has promised herself never to think again. In fact, she is about to say it. This horrible, ghoulish, girlish thought that used to rule her world and make her so terribly weak. The shame of voices expressed out loud in the form of a defeated sigh. You're doing Jane, and
Oh, okay. I didn't know because you never said it.
I said the right at the beginning, but since there's only 3 characters, I didn't think it was worth typing it out.
Okay. I need Jake.
She spins around and, still sitting on her desk, presses a familiar entry on her phone's contact list. Ahoy, ahoy! Jane has to suck in a hard breath to stop herself from groaning. Why were so many of the finest young minds of this planet slaves in this foolish man's perky glues?
Jake, hello. How are you doing?
As well as I can be, I suppose, considering that I just woke up in the middle of a Mafficking ruckus at the stadium after getting beamed in the pumper with the old horse tranquilizer trick, which I suppose I should have seen coming, as Dirk has ended all our matches in this fashion for the past week.
Sorry, you cut off and I didn't hear you end.
Oh. It's your line.
Oh dear, that sounds absolutely terrible, Jake. Is there anything I can do to help?
Help? Gadzooks, woman, I hardly think myself in need of help. It's a jolly good adventure working with someone so predictably unpredictable as our good friend Dirk. You would think that Jake enjoyed the sadomasochistic nature of his and Dirk's personal and professional relationships. Judging from the last conversation about election strategy with Dirk, he seems to be perfectly aware of this feature of Jake's personality. He can't be too nice when causing his endorsement, Dirk would say. He doesn't respond to nice.
Be that as it may, Jake, I still do worry about you an awful lot.
Well, that is... On Jake's end of the line, there is a crash, followed by a noise that sounds suspiciously like something big and hollow and metal connecting with Jake's head. When Jake comes back to the phone, he's yelling into it. Jane grimaces. Very sweet of you, Jane. I appreciate very much you've called me out of the blue to say such nice things to me with no ulterior motive. From anyone else, this would have been a potential statement. However, Jane knows that Jake English could not possibly have meant this with anything but the utmost sincerity.
Well,
Because I must know that although I try to stay sporting about what comes at me, I can't say that I am chuffed about how much of my correspondence lately has had to do with the marketing of my image. It's beginning to feel like all people want from me is to stick my derriere on a signpost for their own profit.
oh, Jake, you're right. It must be so difficult for you more than the rest of us due to your, let's say, natural gifts.
Huh?
But you know that I've always wanted what's best for you, right? And I'm ready to give that to you.
To give me what?
The best, Jake, the very best.
Jake is quiet a moment, and Jane can hear the rusty gears turning in his head.
You should stop by to see me this evening.
Do you mean my evening or yours? We're in different time zones right now, and I dare say that the sun just went down here, so if you wanted to have a soiree on my time, you've missed your chance. Jane feels her fake smile flexing so hard it was beginning to hurt. Oh yes, she loved this man in basically every category that you could possibly love a person, but sometimes talking to him is like trying to build a house of cards while riding a mechanical bull.
Mine, of course. I'll have the best beer of your favorite crocodile-made scotch, flown in from the consort kingdom, and we'll have a little ketchup. I went through like 3 accents in that sentence, Jesus.
Jake actually hates scotch and only drinks it for appearance's sake. But for this, for the unbelievably pivotal moments in the history of the planet they created with their bare hands, Jane is willing to spend a few thousand boombucks to watch her old friend pretend to sip at the same glass for a couple of hours while prattling on. And she's willing to do more than that too.
When's the last time we've done that? Just you and I.
You know what? You're quite right. It's been a spell since we've met up without Dirk. An unforgivably long one at that. Whip me up a kipper, Jake. I'll be over promptly.
You said Jake.
Oh, Jane, yes.
I'm talking. A kipper?
She considers asking if he intended to request that she literally prepare a fish for his arrival, but of course Jake has already hung up. With a heavy and somewhat regretful sigh, Jane sets her phone down on the desk. Well, she thinks, that's that. Time to work your magic, Crocker.